Hey everybody, this is Tyson from Tyson Moore Builds, and I'm going to show you how I made this medicine cabinet. The first step that I did was purchase some premium pine from my local hardware store and brought it over to my miter saw and cut it into various lengths. Here you'll see that I cut a couple of pieces for my sides and a top and bottom. Next, at my router table, I installed this carbide-tipped Cove bit. Cove bits are used for detailing the edges of casework and drawers and columns, and I'm going to use this just to add a little bit of detail to the top and bottom of my medicine cabinet. And as you see here, when the top and the sides and the door will all come together, it should look like this.
If you love this type of content, be sure to subscribe to our channel and go ahead and hit that bell so that you'll be notified on all of the new videos when they're released. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at ToolsToday.
Now for the doors, I cut a piece the exact same length as the cabinet sides and then brought it over to my table saw to begin ripping it down. Next, I'm installing this adjustable router bit set, which is used for making mission-style doors. And after measuring my plywood, I'm able to add spacers so that the plywood panel will fit perfectly into the groove of the stiles and the rails, with just enough room to move freely without rattling. And here you'll see I just centered my cut on the rails and stiles and ran it through the router. I'm really thankful for a solid router table and a good fence. Helps me cut these pieces securely. You can see how precise this router bit cut this groove, as it slides perfectly over this panel. Next, I'm installing the second bit in the router set, and this is going to help me cut the opposite profile of the bit that I just used. So I'll add those 4 shims again, tighten everything down, and cut the bottom of my rails. And everything will come together just like this. The rails will be nice and square, and now it's just time to add that plywood panel. At the table saw, I'll cut it to size and slide it into my rails and stiles just like this. You'll see that the plywood has just a little bit of room to move around. Now after gluing the rails and stiles together, I used a Forstner bit to cut out the size that I'm going to need for this concealed hinge. Now thinking about the sides of my cabinet. Here I'm using a router bit that allows you to change out the bearings at the top so that you can get adjustable depths for your rabbet. Now for me, I just wanted this shallow rabbet on the sides so that when I added the plywood panel to the back, it would sit flush with the cabinet. And after adding my hinges and testing the fit, it was time to assemble everything together. Now I decided to attach everything together with screws. Here I'm using one of my favorite bits in the shop. It's a Countersink bit with an adjustable depth stop that gives me perfect holes every time. At this point, everything really starts to come together. Here I'm just adding a couple of shelves for the inside. Next, at my drill press, I'm using these plug cutters to cut out little plugs in that premium pine that I'm using. I'm going to use these to cover those holes that I just cut with that Countersink bit. Here I'm just adding glue and tapping them in with my mallet and letting them dry. Now in the past, I've used a flush cut saw to cut these plugs off. But this time I'm using this carbide-tipped plug planer that attaches to your drill and simply drills down and cuts flush all the plugs. And as you can tell, this plug planer makes quick work of cutting those plugs flush. And with just a little bit of sanding, you can see how the plug perfectly covers those screw holes. Now it's time to add the back. Over at my table saw, I cut off a piece of plywood, and because I cut that shallow rabbet earlier, you can see it fits flush. And with that, it's done. I just added a couple of door handles, and that soft close works perfectly. Thanks so much for watching. You can find more projects like this on my Instagram page at Tyson_Moore or TysonMooreBuilds.com. And a big thanks to ToolsToday for sponsoring the video.